I'm Dave Gray, and this week I learned it's not the size that matters, it's how dipped in toxic sludge your mop is.
I'm Tyler Hosley, and I'm just sitting here waiting patiently for the 20th anniversary re-release screening of The Devil's Rejects on Monday. Just patiently waiting. Just, me being patient.
I'm Kevin Matthews, Scottish film fan living in England, and I have come to the realization that if Tyler isn't allowed to release his joy soon, he may spontaneously combust before the end of this podcast recording. Maybe.
True.
Although he's being patient.
I don't think
And this
Tyler
is-
learning patience was a bad thing for the world.
Oh, but it's
not.
it's still got to not help him with all the blood flow concentrated in that area.
True.
This is Raiders of the Podcast.
Yay!
I've tried to make a good start, good headway with the horror. I have really tried. I've dived into the Shudder options that were there because I think over the past week a few new ones dropped within the space of a few days. So I heard a lot of people discussing Night of the Reaper, and I watched that, but I was wary because a lot of people were saying, it's got a good old school slasher vibe and it does this and that, but it moves around some of the tropes, so I was a bit wary. But this is, it's good stuff. It's by a duo who have done other stuff that I've enjoyed. Brandon Christensen is the director and is written by Brandon and Ryan Christensen. If I remember right, they're brothers, I think. So yeah, I think that the problem with it is it's a bit too tame. And, like quite a few things in this style, it is about the style and the aesthetic for a lot of it. Although they don't, overdo everything to the point of complete fetishization, but it's still generally a bit too tame. Does some good stuff in the third act, but not quite enough to make up for the rest. So when people enjoy films like that old school slasher vibe, I kind of can't help thinking they should just dive into all the old school slashers because there's hundreds of them and there will be at least a handful they've not seen. That's not a guarantee that they are good. There's, often a very good reason why some of the very forgotten ones are very forgotten, but they will probably deliver the kind of thing that the lesser slasher movies delivered, which was a couple of gory kills and usually some gratuitous nudity and, a twisted finale with all the bodies laid about. That's enough to keep me happy sometimes. Did you guys watch Night of the Reaper yet?
I have not.
It's in the stack, but I have not gotten to it.
It sort of started to come up in conversation quite a lot as soon as it appeared there, so I got around to it. I also watched House on Eden, which is a found footage horror movie that annoyed me so much I can assume that Tyler will be one of its number one fans. Unless you've seen it already, T.
What was it?
House on Eden.
I have not seen that one.
Right. Yeah, I don't know why. I just think you've got to dig it. And I didn't. I mean, it's not. It has sort of everything that I don't mind about a found footage horror movie. It's very standard stuff, but it was, when people are doing found footage horror movies, the camera does not have to be attached to a moving carousel just because you're going around a corner to go up some stairs. It is not roller coaster cam. You can still keep the camera relatively steady while you're looking around your surroundings. So it keeps making that mistake anyway, because anywhere someone looks, they always have to be pointing the camera. So it goes in about 12 different directions in every 30-second sequence. That's quite annoying. It really starts to do the low lighting footage, quite early, which is always, to me, a bad sign. Because we know the drill. Found footage movies, they still have a certain formula in general. And it's towards the end when they try to ramp up the scares and get you with more jumps that we go into nighttime shooting or the infrared or what have you. When it's done so early on in a film, I always take that as a warning sign. There's one or two decent little ideas in this. Like the people who made it did make an attempt at a backstory that at least took some thought, but it's so, I don't know, it's so simplistic that you are always 5 steps ahead of the characters on screen, and you're just waiting for it all to pan out. And then yesterday, I think it was, the day's already blurring into an hour. I watched VHS Halloween that dropped on Shudder. I think Tyler agrees with me. We both kind of like the fact that Shudder have taken this on as what has become pretty much an annual event now, or just every couple of years. And I think the VHS series has always been hit and miss, as any anthology series tends to be with these movies. But the more it goes on, the more I find I'm like receptive to I know what I'm going to get to a degree with their stylistic choices, and I just want some fun. Like the VHS movies have not really aimed to be, you know, a a major commentary on modern society, really, and they've not really aimed to be, you know, anything beyond what they are. It's giving people an opportunity to. It's almost like cutting loose and letting their freak flag fly. That's the way I view them. I think VHS Halloween is a really good one. I really like the wraparound, and I think it's the third tale was one that made me laugh a lot, and the effects were good, even though I knew where it was going. For me, this is a step up from the last one, which I know some people enjoyed because that had more of a sci-fi twist to it. I like this one, getting more into the horror, very much about the Halloween vibe. So I recommend that. I think fans of the series will enjoy it. Like it knows what you want. It gives you that. It has been for some time. Uh, a couple to go. One of which has me giving a sort of apology. It's a vague apology, but I will apologize to. I'll apologize to you, Dave. I'll apologize to you, Tyler. I'll apologize to everyone listening to this because I'm
Fucking
pretty sure.
finally.
I'm pretty sure at some point we've discussed like major misfires and stinky blockbusters that we have a soft spot for. And I'm one of those people who for years was like, I didn't mind Van Helsing. I own the 2-disc DVD. It was fun. Some of the effects are a bit wonky, but it was still aiming to entertain. It's a horrible film. It's horrible. I still stand by the fact that the production design is quite wonderful when it comes to the actual physical sets and the props are good. I still stand by the fact that I like the core idea of the plot in the way it had that excuse for bringing the universal monsters together. It's not really overly complicated, but I think it gave enough reason for them all to be in the same space, and that could have been something good. And I still like that one of Dracula's brides obviously was played by Elena Anaya, who we've seen in a few other movies, a few other much better movies. But the CGI is almost all terrible. Um, Particularly werewolves. This was 2004. Somebody should have just said to Stephen Summers, "Yeah, we can't really do werewolves yet," and figured out some other way. But it's not great with the vampire brides either. And that's particularly notable when they then transform back to the real actresses. It's it's not great with the action sequences. This is one of those films where it's that it's just that cacophony. So every action sequence has to have more thrown at it and go further, but it's not exciting because it's all, enhanced or makes use of computer effects that weren't up to par at the time. So yeah, there are still a few positives I can take from it. I really like the score from Alan Silvestri, and I think Kevin J. O'Connor is quite a fun Igor. I do like the opening, just the fact that it started off in black and white in the older style, and then you get a really weird version of Mr. Hyde. But there's so much more that's horrible about it. And I just wrote my review for my blog for tomorrow, and you'll be pleased, Dave, because I said it's so bad it almost derailed the directorial career of a white American man. That's about as he's had a couple after that. He appears to have one in development, but for a white American man, that's like a nail in the coffin. That is.
Yeah,
I
for now. I mean, until he's
yeah.
dead, don't
Well,
count it
yeah.
out.
No, I know. And finally, you may be shocked to hear that I have never seen this one before. I finally watched Them from 1954, and I'm just waiting to hear Dave's silent judgment emanating over the airwaves.
I'm not going to judge you for that. There's 1,000 movies. There's billions of movies out there. Taking a while to get to one is you saw it. What'd you think?
Yeah. Oh, I loved it. It's very of its time. It's there's a little bit of strangeness in the middle section when it's suddenly like giant ants on the move.
I mean, I'm not judging you because I know if Christiane listens to this episode, she will. More than enough.
What the strange thing is that Them is probably one of the first films I ever read about in a book. I had this paperback book that was like old classic horror movies and had some stills, and uh, it was almost like a random selection, say, of 100 movies or so that it was discussing horror through the years, and Them was one of those. And of course, that photo would intrigue me as a kid. And then I knew about the sound design. I knew about the pools of formic acid. And I even knew about the third act, the LA setting. And I just like, yeah, one day I need to watch it. I need to watch the whole thing. I had no doubt as to how things would play out because of joining the dots from all that I did know. But I just never made time for it before now. I've seen so many other big beastie movies, whether it's Tarantula, whether it's Empire of Dance, which was always a cheesy favorite of mine. We watched. Did we watch for the podcast the giant spider, the Kingdom of the Spiders? Or maybe I just saw that eventually another time.
Oh, no, we did. Shatner
Yeah,
with the Buick-sized spider. We
yeah.
watched it on the podcast, yes.
Giant spider invasion. I used to love, even when I was old enough to realize the biggest spider was just like a Volkswagen Beetle covered in carpet and with fake legs. So it almost felt like I I didn't want to approach them because it was like the granddaddy of those, and I already had such affection for those. I'm like, well, now I might see a film that puts all those in the shade and just sort of reframes that, but it didn't because I've come to it so late, and I already have all of my fondness for the subgenre formed, and it was just like I think it's a really good film that I think holds up for what it is, but what it is as a modern viewer also includes some amusingly patronizing like speeches explaining exactly what's going on or exactly what ants are and what they do and keep that spilt sugar away from me kind of thing. But yeah, it was great. But the scene in I think it's just before the midpoint where ants end up on a ship. That took me by surprise because I hadn't kept track of the progress that they were tracking following the ants. So that was almost to me, that was almost like a random insert with these military men on the phone reporting the situation, a big ant in the background. It, it bordered on a kind of Naked Gun Zucker random parody surreal moment. And it didn't stop me enjoying it, but it was just unexpected. I am so glad I finally marked it off the list though. That was me.
So I'm going to say very little about this one because I'm going to be talking about it on Mike and Jose's podcast tomorrow. But I literally just got back from Bone Lake. I really liked it a lot. It's a solid thriller with a great third act. But for an erotic movie that's marketed heavily around being super horny, there's very little sex and nudity. It's got some horniness. Don't get me wrong. It's just the marketing told me something a little different, and that was not fully clothed fucking. But like I said, though, it's a rock solid thriller, nice and bloody, and it's what Ready or Not should have been. I really dug that one. Good stuff. Besides that, I watched Under the Skin again, which I am a huge fan of. It's my favorite Jonathan Glazer movie. I really like Birth too. I think that one's excellent, but Under the Skin, man, it's just so fucking good. It's weird, bizarrely sexy. It looks gorgeous visually. ScarJo is excellent in it. Probably my favorite ScarJo performance. She's so good in it. Just yeah, I love that one quite a bit. Like I said, Birth is probably a close second when it comes to Jonathan Glazer, but man, nothing can top Under the Skin for me. Just so good. Besides that, just a bunch of TV. I started watching the Ryan Murphy Monster Ed Gein show. I'm only 2 episodes in, so I can't really say much, but I'm liking it so far, and that's about it.
I, on the other hand, watched a lot of stuff, and I have things to say about some, but I'm not sure what yet, and I'll get to that. I'll save that one till last. So, just because it's spooky season. Fuck yeah, spooky season. It's time to watch some fucking horror movies. I decided to start out with things that I know I enjoy. Just get those out of the way before delving into the weird first time watches. So I rewatched Deadstream, which is an absolute blast, where a disgraced YouTuber goes into an actually haunted house and shit happens. It's essentially, I think it's like mostly one guy and his, I don't know, his girlfriend or his wife just doing shit. I think his wife in the house to be scary. They have like 2 actors, maybe 3 actors who are in maybe 10 minutes of it total. It's really a blast. I showed Killa Hello Mary Lou Prom Night 2, and it gave her a lot of questions which I was not prepared to ask, just about life back in the 1980s, the 1950s, and why people would, put on the haunted tiara for giggles. And it's like, well, you would. And she went, yeah, probably. I love Prom Night 2, Hello Mary Lou Prom Night 2, and I'm not going to lie, I also enjoy Prom Night 3. I don't care. Judge me if you want. Judge me. It's fun. I watched the 1996 horror film Scream. I was supposed to see a special screening on the big screen, but that did not happen. Instead, I just watched it at home, and I love Scream. Scream, the original Scream, is an absolute blast. I'm not sure if the series should still be going. I feel it kind of passed its sell-by date after the second one, but whatever. People still enjoy it. Fuck yeah, you get that Ghostface. Although Ghostface always loses. Always loses. Everybody kicks Ghostface ass. I'm not sure why they don't change the costume by now. It seems to just be unlucky and cursed. I watched the premiere, which I know Kevin has seen.
Yes.
Who's a big fan of. I enjoyed it. I enjoyed it quite a bit. It was a bit of a hassle to watch because A lot of these now, some of these I watched on Shudder, but a lot of these, including the premiere, are on not they're on Canopy, the library streaming app that is not Hoopla. And Canopy, if you want something free, you can get through your library, but not all library systems have it on like Hoopla, which is like everywhere. Canopy is awesome, and you should look into if it's offered because they got a ton of neat and interesting and off the beaten path horror films up this month. I enjoyed the premiere. I didn't love it as much as Kevin did, but I did really like it. It's a fun horror tangential comedy. I laughed, I cried, I felt the man's pathos. Sam Pizzullo does Pizzullo does really well with it. It's a sharp satire of a community I am not part of, and I got to see an interesting look into it. I saw the Toxic Avenger remake. I enjoyed it. Not as much as the original, which I have gone on record saying how much I love the original Toxic Avenger and most versions of Toxie, but I'd put it at number 3 of the 4 different Toxic Avenger versions I know of. It's not as good as the original. It's not as good as the musical. The musical's kind of great, but it's better than Toxic Crusaders. And I love Toxic Crusaders also. I can't wait for the game to hit, I think in December. I'm excited for that shit. I watched the 1992 Hong Kong action thriller Hard Boiled by John Woo, directed by John Woo, written by Gordon Chan and Barry Wong, and starring the man himself, Chow Yun-fat. Who doesn't fucking love Chow Yun-fat? No, seriously. Tell me.
Heathens.
Yeah, exactly. And they're wrong for it. It's great. It's a lot of fun. Chow Yun-fat is always excellent. I enjoy the shit out of Inspector Tequila. It's finally getting a nice 4K release. From you can stream the 4K release now in a bunch of places, including the Criterion Channel and most rental things through Shout did it, and it is getting a disc. I don't know if the disc is out yet. The disc might be out, or it's coming very soon. There's a long time when this movie was not available here. Do you know where you could get this movie for mostly for the last 20 years?
You got to see the library thing again.
No. This is an even weirder thing. The most common way to find it, and the reason why copies of this game are not easy to get, is there's a sequel game on the PS3 called I can't even remember what it's called. Dead to
Hard-boiled
Rights
2?
No, it's not called Hard Boiled 2. It's I totally am brain farting on the Stranglehold. Stranglehold. And for 20 years, Stranglehold was the only way you could get a copy of it. So Stranglehold goes for a shit ton, and it's a fun game. You should play Stranglehold and watch Hard Boiled after buying it separately in the 4K because it looks nice. And it's John Woo. John Woo's action shit is great, and you know it, and I know it, and everybody should know it. And the last thing I watched this week, and I finished it right before we started recording, is a documentary called Smiles and Kisses You. And I'm not really sure how I feel about this movie. It is a documentary about a guy named Chris who forms a relationship with a love doll and AI chatbot version of her. But it's a lot more messed up than just, oh, isn't it kind of cute? It's larger than the real girl, because there's a lot of other real world stuff and Chris's trauma, and they don't get into a lot of the more interesting things. It's like close to being a really good film, but it has interesting conversations that can come from it. So, well, I'm not sure I would say that this is actually a good film, or actually one that I think a lot of people should run out and watch. I think we're going to see a lot more films like this coming up. Do you remember, like, in the 2000s, there were all those films about, oh, look at this freak who married his sex doll or his anime waifu? You remember those, don't you, T? I know you
I
saw
do.
some.
I
Yeah.
do.
It's kind of like that, but even creepier and much darker. but the filmmaker doesn't want to actually make a statement or learn anything, so it's done, I think, in the wrong approach, and it doesn't really understand how to deal with some of the issues with a woman, Chris, who they follow, used to know. And there are issues. There's some deep, dark shit going on. And they're just kind of like, it's fine, but it's not. So I literally just finished it before we started recording, so I'm not 100% sure how I feel about it. I might make you guys watch it just so we can discuss it. And we'll get somebody smarter than us on to talk about it with us at the time. This week, we watched the 1965 American neo-noir crime thriller Who Killed Teddy Bear, the 1971 American black comedy A New Leaf, the 1996 erotic drama Female Perversions, and the 1997 American comedy Touch. Is it a comedy? The book was, but is the movie? I'm not sure. Dave? Yes, Dave. Would you like to pick a movie and tell us about it? Sure, Dave. I'm going to start actually with Touch. Touch is, well, like I said, the 1997 American film. It's written and directed by Paul Schrader. It's based on a 1987 novel by Elmore Leonard, which Leonard actually wrote in 1977. It took a decade for it to get published. It took another decade for the film version to come out. And if you search for this on Google, Elmore Leonard Touch adaptation, it will tell you that Elmore Leonard's Touch has never been adapted because AI is shit. I wish I could just not see the stupid AI summary that pops up all the time, but they've ingrained it, so I'm probably going to stop you. Anyway, I got sidetracked. It's about a young man, Juvenile, who used to be a priest and is now a stigmatic who heals people by touching them. He comes to the awareness of former evangelist, now mobile home salesman Bill Hill, who persuades his friend Lynn into getting the former monk on their side so they can make money. But things get complicated when Lynn and Juvenile start getting a little romantic. And it's all made more complicated when fascist fundamentalist August Murray sticks his oar in. What to say about Touch? I don't have much to say about Touch. That's why I decided to go with it first. I do not like Touch. I've read the book. I like the book fine. The book has Elmore Leonard's signature humor. It's got some sharp things and observations for the time period. The movie, on the other hand, is a fairly, I'm going to underline that word, fairly faithful adaptation, as in, I believe that Paul Schrader read the book because he just lifted wholesale. Very little change, very little update. The problem is tone here. Schrader, I don't think, has any sense of humor at all because he plays it too straight. He plays it too seriously. It doesn't land. It's not very funny. He wastes a cast that's very game. Like Christopher Walken wants to do it. Gina Gershon wants to do it, but Schrader doesn't know how to approach these characters, and it comes through. Even Tom Arnold is very willing and trying his best, but again, Schrader doesn't know how to approach any of these characters, and that is ultimately where this movie falls apart. It's there. It's not terrible. It's just kind of best forgotten. It doesn't do anything. It doesn't say anything. It kind of fumbles the underlining meaning and concepts fairly hard. It totally forgets that Christopher Walken's there for a long, long stretch of time. And Skeet Ulrich just is not, he's not charming enough to carry it. He looks creepy, and he doesn't sell the relationship with Bridget Fonda, who that same year it was in the worst and the best Elmore Leonard adaptation. I mean, sure, we could argue that maybe Be Cool is worse or Be Chill or whatever, but that book sucks too. So, I'm not going to get into that. Feel how you want to feel about that one. but Touch is not good. I could have watched Jackie Brown instead. But no, that didn't happen. Fuck you for that, Tyler. Fuck you.
I didn't pick this one.
I know, but I just felt like saying it.
I didn't pick this damn movie.
I know. We all knew you were going to pick female perversions when we saw the list to choose from.
Yes, it's true.
Just, you didn't remind me that Jackie Brown existed, and I totally forgot until just this moment while talking. And like, you should have been like, Dave, you can watch Jackie Brown. I would have been like, oh, thank you, Tyler. You saved me, but you didn't. You let me suffer.
So was that you, Dave? Before I go into this.
Oh yeah, that's totally me.
Okay. I thought I had seen every Paul Schrader movie, and apparently I had not, because this was a first timer. I love so much of Paul Schrader's work. We've talked a lot about him on here. Hardcore is an all-time favorite of mine. I truly think that's like a perfect 70s film. I love that movie. I love Hardcore. I can't compliment that movie enough. It's so good. But I'm not sure Schrader was the best filmmaker to tackle a comedic, satirical approach to religion and spirituality. I love when he does stuff like First Reformed and Dominion, dark characters struggling with faith and spirituality. I just don't think comedy and Paul Schrader are two things that go together very well, which makes this movie incredibly uneven in tone. I mean, there's a rom-com going on, and then there's healing and stigmata that pops up. It's a weird mishmash of tones cobbled together. But with all that said, I like the movie fine enough, and its cast. I thought Bridget Fonda was great. I love Bridget Fonda. I even like Skeet Ulrich in this. I thought he was perfectly fine. And like Dave said, even Tom Arnold was actually pretty good in this, and that's shocking. Tom Arnold was actually decent in this movie. It's definitely like bottom tier for Elmore Leonard adaptations, though. I would rather watch Be Cool than The Big Bounce. I don't know if you guys have ever seen that one, but that is probably the worst Elmore Leonard movie. Just so mediocre and boring. I'd rather watch Be Cool. I don't know why I just said The Big Chill, but Be Cool. But yeah, in the 90s, you had Jackie Brown and Out of Sight. Two fucking great Elmore Leonard adaptations. And then this just kind of falls on the bottom. It's around Be Cool, and I like Get Shorty too. That's a pretty good one. But yeah, it's just, I don't know. I just don't think it works because Schrader is a very different filmmaker than what this particular material needed, even though I haven't read the book, but apparently it's fairly faithful, as Dave said. So I don't know. It's enjoyable, but uneven.
I forgot The Big Bounce existed.
Yeah, that's such a forgettable movie.
Was that you, T?
Yeah, that's me.
Yeah, okay. That's I'm happy enough with that. I expected more potential blowback on that. Well, I've not seen Touch since the video days. I'm pretty sure I rented it. I'm pretty sure I enjoyed it. And when I saw it in the pile, I thought it's overdue a revisit. I remember liking the cast in general. I think Walken is a lot of fun in this. I think, the world was a better place where we had Bridget Fonda in a selection of movies. Those movies may have varied wildly in quality, but I like Bridget Fonda on screen. I think she's a good presence. So she's good here. I'm always pleasantly surprised that Tom Arnold seems to work here. Although maybe that's just a comment on Tom Arnold, considering how his character is. And as limited as he is, I think Skeet Ulrich works in this role because he's very much, his character seems to just be there for everyone else to project upon and to move around. That's where I get it. And he's Skeet Ulrich, so I think he's quite effectively cast for that role. I do get what you're saying about Schrader, not really, I think, doing well with the comedy, because this should have been a lot better. I like it, but I think it should have been a lot better. I think the comedy that's clearly running through it, there's an undercurrent all the way through, considering the themes it's working with. I think the comedy could have worked a lot better, just been a bit sharper. Like the whole thing could have been tweaked. I like the score. If I remember it, it's from Dave Grohl, and there's quite a bit of it that reminds me of stuff like uh I think is it Planet Clear, the B-52's tune with the great riff going through it. I think that's what I'm thinking of.
Most
But
B-52 songs have a great riff going through it.
well,
So, but yeah, that
that
is the song you're thinking of. Yeah.
that is true. Yeah, I mean, you've also Anthony Zerbe, who is fun to see. Gina Gershon, good little cameo from LL Cool J. Um, well, I mean, it's not a plus, but Breckin Myers there in this small role. I I enjoy this. I don't enjoy it now that I've seen many more films compared to when I first saw it, but I still think it's okay. Now, Dave will be shocked to learn I've never read the book, so that may change my opinion if I get around to reading it at some point. I don't think I've read any Elmore Leonard books, shockingly, and I would imagine they're quite good to just, speed through. I imagine
You
it's
should
stuff's like
read
pulpy
some
and
Elmore
fun.
Leonard. I would
Yeah.
not put I would not put Touch at like the top of my Elmore Leonard book list. But yeah, like Rum Punch is really good. Ryland, Fire in the Hole, City Primal, Pronto, Out of Sight. Good one. Uh, what else? I mean, Fire in the Hole. I think would probably be the one I'd recommend the most.
Right, okay. I will try to make a note of that and get some Leonard read. But yeah, my opinion may change once I've read some Elmore Leonard. But as it is, I still think this is good enough. It's lifted by the cast in general. I think Schrader does okay with it, but it absolutely could have been a much better film with a director who could sort of mine more of the comedy and work with a slightly different sensibility running through it. Right. I am going to go with I think it was Craig's pick, A New Leaf. Is that right?
It was, yeah. Yeah.
Right. Okay. So directed by Elaine May, co-written by Elaine May with Jack Ritchie, and stars Elaine May. But the male lead is Walter Matthau, who is a man who's so careless with his money that he is told he is days away from, being bankrupt, essentially. And he makes a wager with his uncle that he will find and marry a woman and make himself financially secure within a certain time period. He then meets Henrietta Lowell, played by Elaine May. She is quite the klutz when he first meets her, and the courtship begins. Walter Matthau's characters want to rush through things. He wants that financial security. He is then planning not to be married for too long because his wife will surely meet some unfortunate accidental end, or he can hurry things along. And that's what A New Leaf is about in general. It's a dark comedy. It's a kind of rom-com. It's it's a fun look at the what you can get away with when you can go through life still acting rich, even if you're waiting on more money to get into your wallet or bank balance. I really like this. It took a while to grow on me. The early scenes were funny enough. They were good. there's a running gag about the vehicles that Matto uses and the same fault that mechanics call out, and the cost of running luxury vehicles. That's fun. His it's not his refusal, it's almost his obliviousness to his situation until the reality crashes into his face about the money. That's fun. But it all really steps up when Elaine May's on and the two are working together. She's a real fantastic comedy talent. It reminded me of, but I think her performance is superior. But it reminded me of the lead actress's performance in Dirty Rotten Scoundrels. Now I forget her name. Is that Glenn? Is it Headley?
It is.
Yeah. This call to mind that, but I think May's, strangely, it's a better performance, but it is more, she's acting more timid, and she's much more, for the most parts, pushed to the side. But that just makes it all the better when she shows enough warmth. It kind of comes off the screen, and as a viewer, you've been enjoying this dark comedy and where it could be going, and then you're thinking, I like her though. Like, she's sweet, she's nice. Oh, she's been quiet and a bit clumsy. Like, that's nothing. Everything she's done has been with the best intentions or with complete trust in this man that she's then agreeing to marry. And I don't I don't know whether, I guess it's spoilery, so spoiler warnings for A New Leaf, and I would highly recommend people seek it out. I It's maybe stupid, but I thought the third act and her gift to him was like really romantic and sweet, and like completely, it was so unselfish considering how she lived her life and what her interests were, that when she, yeah, it was a new, so she gives him like a frond from this new type of fern that she'd discovered, but that was like, that's her interest and her, her passion, and she names it after him and gives him that gift. And even while Walter Matthau's still being quite gruff and acting cool about it, you can see that that's where he starts to think, better of her. He starts to change his mind, as he should, on his opinion of this woman that he's seen for the most part as a means to an end. And I think it's really lovely. And I was thinking back through, like, the history of rom-coms and the many films I've sat through and what the romantic gestures are, whether it's, playing someone music from a ghetto blaster, or the right gift, or the standard cliche running to the airport or building for a declaration of love. And I'm like, that's just the sweetest, loveliest thing that I think I've seen one character do for another, when you think of all that would mean to her. And it really, like, it helps to set everything up for the final scenes as well. And I just loved how it all played out there. So I found a lot of it really funny. Matto is hilarious through this. I've not seen as many of his movies as I think I should, because I think, particularly with his comedy, I've generally seen the films where he's the older man in the cast, like the sort of the late 80s and 90s movies with Matto. And for other roles, I've seen him in, generally the Taking a Pelham 123 and Charlie Varick. That's all I can think of. I can't even recall if I've actually seen The Odd Couple, or if I've just seen bits of it. But he's he's so great at comedy. He's so great with this. The accent he puts on, well, his way of speaking, his posh voice, it was just making me laugh all the time as well. And how he delivers lessons to others. And as I say, like Elaine May is like she's wonderful. She's a huge talent. And it's funny that I mentioned my little dig at Stephen Summers earlier with Van Helsing, because Elaine May famously seemed to that was it for her once Ishtar had bombed, which came after a run of this was her first film as director. Then The Heartbreak Kid, the original, which I don't think I've seen, Mikey and Nicky, which I've heard good things about, and then Ishtar. It's a to me that it feels like a much greater shame now that I've just experienced how absolutely brilliant in comedy she is. And that's
That
me,
didn't
I
end her
think, before
career.
I.
She kept writing.
Well, yeah, but
Dude,
you know,
she wrote Heaven Can Wait. She
directorial.
wrote The Birdcage. She wrote Primary Colors. She wrote she was like the go-to script doctor for 40 years.
Yeah,
I
but
mean,
it ended
granted,
her
she should have.
directorial career.
Yes, it did. She should have had a
Yeah.
better directorial career. Not arguing that. And her stage plays are amazing.
She's yeah, I can only I did see she'd had writing work in our films, but I think yeah, I would happily hopefully dive into more of her comedy work in particular, and I'm sure there's quite a few bits and bobs for me to look out for. Now that I am, because for some reason when I thought of Elaine May and knowing her as being the director of Ishtar, I always thought she was a female director who did quite well with a couple of movies, and then Ishtar bombed, and that was that. I didn't realize she was such, a great talent with her writing career and with the acting on screen as well. So now knowing that, she basically does it all. Like, yes, I want to watch everything else that she's had a hand in and see the stuff that wasn't ruined by their reputation.
Her stage plays are absolutely fantastic. Just throwing that out there.
I mean, are they available?
Yeah, several of them. One
Okay.
is in an anthology of one-act plays, and the others are written by Woody Allen and Joel Cohen. It's called oh fuck, I am brain farting. I'm sorry. Uh it'll come to me. It'll come to me as I'm talking, but
Is this going to be another episode where you blurt out something later and scare the shit out of me when I'm talking about
probably
another film?
relatively speaking.
Okay.
I knew I'd think of it.
That was me. I had to stop before
Oh,
I rambled anymore and embarrassed myself further.
okay, then I can keep going. She did uncredited rewrites on Reds, Tootsie, Labyrinth, Dangerous Minds. I mean, like, she kept going, and it is a shame that Ishtar killed her career. And Ishtar didn't kill her career because it's a particularly bad movie. It's not great, but it just went wildly over budget. But if she was a man, do you know what it wouldn't have done?
Mm.
Killed her career because it didn't hurt anybody else that worked on that shitty fucking movie. I mean, the cinematographer Vito Statorio is a genius. Don't get me wrong, but kept working for decades after it. Both stars kept working.
I was going to
Uh,
say, am I right in remembering hearing about, like, didn't Beatty throw her under the bus or something?
he did.
Maybe.
Yeah, it's also the movie where Dustin Hoffman was accused of doing things to people backstage. But she also did stand-up comedy, improv comedy with director Nicholas Meyer. And if you ever look up their stuff together, I think it's May and Meyer. It might be Meyer and May. They're absolutely hilarious. Absolutely hilarious.
And didn't she start off with was it Mike Nichols she did some work with?
Yeah, isn't that what I said?
Oh, sorry. I thought I heard Nicholas Meyer and I missed the first bit.
Oh, okay.
That
Sorry.
would just be tech on my end. Sorry, Dave.
Yes.
Yeah,
And
I'd heard about that recently and sort of learning more about her. I don't know if legacy is the right word, but her body of work stretching much further than I knew from the tip of the iceberg. Do you know what I mean?
yeah, her film Mickey and Nikki is actually that was got a Criterion released a couple years ago. It's excellent. But I think that's probably the one that killed her career even. And then Ishtar came out, and that doubly killed her career. But most of her stuff's excellent, and she's well worth looking out for. But I digress. A New Leaf is excellent. It's actually based on a short story called The Green Heart by Jack Ritchie. Jack Ritchie wrote a ton of stuff under a bunch of pseudonyms. May found it reading Hitchcock magazine, and she took it and she ran with it and she made something absolutely fantastic. This film was taken from her and it had 100 minutes cut out or 80 minutes cut out. There's a whole second movie that just never made it to the screen, and I really hope now that Paramount's is it Paramount? Yeah, Paramount. Paramount's been sold again. Somebody finds the missing footage in a freezer somewhere. Although they won't, because the people that bought Paramount are jackasses. But the rest of the cast is excellent. Walter Matthau is great. James Coco in a small role as Uncle Harry is fantastic. George Rose is really good. Who else is there? Uh, the cast is really good. Uh, Matthau works really well with George Rose, who plays his butler Harold. Jack Weston is really strong as a skeevy lawyer. The film is incredibly solid. At one point, they tried to get Christopher Plummer or Cary Grant to play Walter Matthau's role, and while that still would have been good, I think Matthau just really knocks it out of the park. He feels like this absolutely atrocious character, and I love me some black comedies with wit and something to say and do, and this is one of them. I had not seen this before. I was aware of May's work, but I will admit that I mostly was aware of her writing stuff, and the only films I'd seen directed by her were Ishtar and Mickey and Nikki. So I'm glad to finally mark this off. I really enjoyed the shit out of it. It's fantastic, and May is brilliant. I believe she's still kicking around, and it's a shame that she didn't have a stronger career with more support from studios.
I had a feeling I'd probably be in the minority with this one. This was actually my least favorite movie of the week. I just could not get into this one. I always enjoy Walter Matthau on screen. I love him, and I could easily see this being like a Mr. Wilson backstory for Dennis the Menace. I mean, Walter Matthau playing a man that just hates everything. I mean, he was just so good at that, and I love him for that. And Elaine May is also great, but once again, I'm going to say what I always say when we cover movies that involve some sort of comedy. I just didn't find very much of this funny. It's very dry in its humor, which will work for a lot of people, but it didn't work for me personally, and I just found myself kind of bored through most of it. But looking at May's filmography, I went through it after I watched this. I haven't really liked any of her directed films. I thought Ishtar was awful. Like, I know that's like a cliche thing to say now, but that movie is just so fucking boring. So boring. And I didn't really care for the Heartbreak Kid at all. Like I could not get into that one either. But I like this one better than either of those. But still, I really wasn't feeling it. I did really like The Birdcage and Primary Colors though. I thought both of those were great. Like those are excellent movies, and she apparently wrote those. So yeah, those were excellent. But yeah, I don't know. I kept getting like Dirty Rotten Scoundrel vibes with a little bit of The Odd Couple thrown in. Just I wish it was as good as either of those. I didn't hate it. I love rom coms, but I just couldn't get into this one. I tried, and I love Walter Matthau, but yeah, I just wasn't feeling this one. Is that me picking next?
Oh yeah, don't stop there. Keep
Yeah.
going.
Well, I can't pick my own pick, but it's weird that it landed like this because not to show my hand early, I'm going to go with my favorite pick, Who Killed Teddy Bear, because I thought this was fantastic. It's about in New York, a disco hostess is stalked by a sexual predator, and she requests help from a Vice Squad detective who takes a personal interest in the case. Yeah, like I just said, I fucking love this movie, guys. A lot. It's so sleazy and so lurid for its time. Obviously, because of code, you couldn't show nudity, but it still manages to touch upon some territory you didn't see very often in movies made in the 60s. You get voyeurism, pornography, incest, and that's just to name a few. This goes into some dark as fuck territory. I love the portrayal of New York here too. It's just filled with like sexual degeneracy. I love the way it was shot. The very lingering, almost fetishistic camera work. I just know like the 1965 audience must have been like clutching their pearls throughout this movie, watching this in the theater, and I just loved thinking about that shit. I mean, that black and white cinematography is gorgeous. Sal Mineo, is that how you say that? Mineo? I'm terrible with pronouncing names. I hope that's how you say that.
Minio.
Mineo. He is excellent. That dude just oozes sweat and grime and sleaze with every fucking frame he's in, and I loved his performance in this. Juliet Prowse, Jan Murray, both really good as well. Yeah, this one fucking knocked my socks off. I didn't expect that at all going into this movie. Like I just thought it was a 1965 like drama, and I'm like, 60s movies I can take or leave. But nah, this was excellent. This was like Peeping Tom levels of good for me. Yeah, I dug the hell out of this.
Um, well, I didn't love it as much as Tyler, but I did like this. There's a lot to enjoy here. It's yeah, it's surprisingly dark and twisted when you think about how it's obviously still working within certain limitations that wouldn't be there today. I'm not familiar with many of the main players, and then Dave will tell me I've seen 20 other films directed by like Joseph Cates or a dozen other films written by Leon Tokachin and Arnold Drake. And then I'll go back through the podcast archives and realize that yes, I've seen them all, but I couldn't think of anything off the top of my head. Anyway, Sal Mineo is someone who's only familiar to me because, if I remember rightly, he's the younger kid in Rebel Without a Cause, and he died at a tragically young age as well. Would that be correct? Have I remembered my
Yeah,
Rebel
he was
Without a
stabbed in the
Cause
heart
related trivia? Stabbed in the
during a
heart.
during a robbery. Yeah.
Wow. I agree with Tyler. His performance here is really really good though. He's really just sweaty and nervy, and it's great. I think Juliette Prowse is really good as Nora Dane, the woman who ends up on the receiving end of these sex pest calls, and yeah, just like she's that good mix of like you know a strong independent woman who's put in this incredibly horrible and vulnerable situation. Jan Murray is the cop who is helping, and yeah, he's a bit shady, I think, for certain scenes as things are revealed about how he deals with his work and his views on certain things. But I'll also mention Margot Bennett, who was really good as the younger sister of Salmino's character, and gives I think their relationship gives a reveal of the title in a way. It's not a big deal, but it is interesting in that that kind of colours his behaviour elsewhere towards others, how he internalizes things and then kind of lashes out in terms of his sort of his urges and how he's dealing with his impure thoughts. And then I did spot Bruce Glover in a small role here as well, so I just sort of mentioned him because I found him quite easy to spot nowadays, because you look at an old film and you're like, oh, it was Crispin Glover time traveling. And you're like, oh no, it's Bruce Glover. That was his dad. But yeah, this was a really good one, and I I put it in a pile with a few other titles that I've now gone completely blank on. Did we watch the one for the podcast that has a child going missing, but then
Yes.
folk are making her doubt whether
Yes. I have that on the wall. That's Bunny Lake is Missing. It's a personal favorite.
yes. So there are parts of this that have that. I think have that similar atmosphere and darkness to Bunny Lake is Missing, in that as I say, it's obviously working within certain limitations, but there are implications throughout a number of scenes that are even more horrific than obviously what you're being shown, and what the plot is playing out on the surface. But yeah, it was a really good one. Really, really impressed me. I'm glad I watched it. There was a couple of nice new surprises for me this week for titles that I've maybe listed them somewhere, but they wouldn't have, popped up on my radar without them being picked for the podcast, really. So I appreciate that.
So I mostly agree with you guys. I do want to share a little trivia. This was co-written by Arnold Drake. Do you know who Arnold Drake is best known for doing? He was a comic book writer. Do you want to guess what comic books he created?
I'm
Doom
going to say,
Patrol and
oh,
Guardians of the Galaxy
oh,
and Dead Man, which is a deep cut character for a lot of people, but I like Dead Man. I Yeah, I fucking loved this one. I enjoyed the shit out of it. I think it's well shot. I think it handles a lot of really interesting themes, as well as it could. Yes, and this is something I'm going to have to say for the next film also. Often these things are kind of handcuffed by time and the people that made it, but the folks who made this are very open to doing something interesting, and they do. Um, Sal Mineo is the first American guy in an American film to wear jockey shorts on screen. Just so you know. Uh, Mineo is great playing against type as an antagonist, and he is by turns terrifying and very human. It's a fantastic performance of a really good character who I think should get more credit. I would put Lawrence Sherman up there with a lot of other film psychos from the time, as Kevin pointed out. The brother, or well, that's a spoiler. I'm sorry. The guy in Bunny Lake is Missing, or Peeping Tom, or even, I mean, granted, it's still the upper level is Norman Bates, but there's all these other similar characters that were starting to simmer around the same time, and a lot of them are pretty decent, and this is one of them. Juliette Prowse is excellent as Nora Dane. She gives the character a lot of real charm and charisma, and you care about what happens to her. There are some scenes where she interacts with Mineo and Jan Murray where, like, you should be scared for her, and it's palpable, but she's playing it totally like she is unaware, and she plays it unaware. I think a lot of others would have played it a bit more winky at the camera that the actress knows, but no, it's a fantastic performance. Elaine Stritch shows up as Marion Friedman, and she's excellent. Jan Murray is creepy ass Lieutenant Dave Madden. Jan Murray was mostly like a game show host and comedian, but here he is an obsessive, terrifying detective, and he plays it well. You're supposed to be creeped out by Lieutenant Dave, and you are. It's a good performance of an unusual character, especially for that time period. Now, like, he'd be like the center of some bullshit weekly show to sell the fiction of profiling to the American public. But here he's a creep, and everybody knows he's a creep. And they treat him like a creep, and it's great. I really enjoyed the shit out of this. This is a fantastic little thriller that touches on some interesting ideas that still aren't really touched on as well as they should be. And Mineo is great. The cast is great. I love the death of the teddy bear. I really liked Margaret Bennett as Sister Edie. She gives a really strong, dedicated performance that, again, it's kind of hampered by the time period, but she's dedicated to it and gives a solid one. This is a good one. This is worth looking up, if you ask me.
Oh, can I just say, Dave, in
Sure.
lieu of Craig's absence, I know he'd want me to pick it up. You did say about Juliet Prowse being good and someone else could have played it more winky to the camera. And I had to mute myself because he said winky.
I did. And that's
Yeah.
reasonable. But like I was saying, like the scene at the pool, like a lot of others, especially at the time period, would have played it broader. But she and Sal Mineo give a fantastic performance. I think and this is something that I had a recurring theme I had this week is that I disliked a lot of the final acts, and I didn't have that problem with Who Killed Teddy Bear. The last 20 minutes, maybe the last half hour, it's palpable. I feel anxiety and fear for our character, and it doesn't do what a lot of other movies of the time period would have done. It does the awful thing, and I'm going to give it a lot of credit for that. Leonard Maltin apparently gave this one only 1.5 stars, and Leonard is full of shit on this one. It's a solid thriller from the time that absolutely captures the sexual panic and the learning mood of the late 60s, where things were changing and we were learning about these new views on psychology. I very much feel that this is a film that can stand with a lot of my favorites. It stands with Psycho. It stands with Peeping Tom. It stands with Bunny Lake is Missing. A 4-pack of really good ones that I think everybody should watch at least once. Schedule it in. Do it to it. That leaves me with Female Perversions, which is a 96 erotic drama directed by Susan Streifield. It's her directorial debut. The screenplay is by Julie Hebert, Julie Hebert, who wrote the Mary Kay Letourneau story in 2000. I think she wrote ER a lot and a lot of other TV shows. It is based actually on a book by a female psychiatrist named Louise J. Kaplan, but I have not read the book. I am not exactly sure how, like, it's not the same. It's not this, like, the book is literally about feminism, and literary perspectives to see challenged male-centric views by arguing that female perversions, and they don't mean it in like a bad way. That the term perversion here, they literally mean as sexual behavior, even if you are without, that is viewed as unacceptable. They don't mean it as like a dismissal of it, but that's what it's about. It's about women using their perversions to cope with societal pressures and stereotypes. The film, on the other hand, does not seem to understand the goal, and I know you guys will have a different view of it than I do. So that's one reason why I wanted to go first. So it's about Eve Stevens, a Los Angeles trial attorney who is about to be appointed judge. To the bench, and very excited. She's filled with self-doubt and struggles to find satisfaction, taking comfort in intense but unemotional relationships. First with a geologist played by the amazing Clancy Brown. And holy shit, 1996 Clancy Brown was a smoke show. Say this as a straight male. Damn, Clancy could get it. And a female psychiatrist who probably should have better understood her issues, played by Karen Silius, who is also a smoke show. But the most smoke show of all is Tilda Swinton, who plays Eve. Swinton is just an ethereal beauty in this film. Eve is troubled by erotic nightmares, flashbacks to the lives of her parents, centering on her issues with her father and her suspicions over the death of her mother. And it just kind of, it ties in her sister, played by Amy Madigan, and some random women, including Paulina Poroskova, who is totally wasted, and crap, I just totally I can't read. Frances Fisher, who is in a problematic at best character. I'm torn on this one. There are bits I like. I think the cast does an incredible job with what they are given, and I think it's shot really well. The problem lands tragically on the director and writer, who don't have much to say about what they're getting into, and they tragically kind of fall back on some really icky Freudian stuff, especially in the last act, where it totally falls apart for me. The art house visuals graded early on because they're not meaningful. They don't say anything. It's not a comment. It's just the most obvious visual metaphor you can think of. And right down to diving into a pool shaped like a cross. It's way too on the nose. The way they handled the self-harming child, who's clearly dealing with gender dysphoria and religious issues because of what's revealed she does at the last bit, is just kind of hand waved as just being a female problem. The way it tries to tie in Eve's issues, which are deep. She has some deep issues based on self-esteem. And then they just kind of hand wave it as being the same as her sister's kleptomania, is silly. It's just, it does not come together. And it's a shame, because there's a lot of good stuff in the first 2/3. There's a lot of good stuff. There's a fantastic performance by Swinton. There is, I really hate that they kind of, this kleptomania is presented as stolen objects being a substitute for penis. I mean, come the fuck on. What kind of dumb shit is that? Anyway, that's just disproven Freudian shit. And it was disproven at the time this was made. And I'm sure the book it's based on disproves that shit too. It is just pseudo-intellectual hogwash that tragically is stapled onto a decent but not great character study. And it's a shame that they couldn't see the forest for the trees. And they went with just really lazy, simplistic, hand-wavy comments at the end, because I think there's something great in here. And I really hope that, I would love to see somebody with a strong grasp of the material try a new adaptation, because I do think there's something good in here. It just doesn't come out. And instead we're just left with it's fine. I mean, don't get me wrong, but this is not an all-American type A every woman they try to pretend she is. This is not, even really relatable, I think, to the wide audience issues. They go so above and beyond to make them comic booky, which again, I think that could be fine, but it really tries to force it as being a general view, and I don't buy that. Now, maybe I'm wrong, and if any woman that has watched it did, explain it to me, please, because I missed it, and that could just be a matter of being a straight white man in the U.S. not understanding where it's going at. But I feel like there's a lot of misses in this, and it's a shame, because I think the pieces are there to make something truly great. It just failed to bring it together.
Well, Tyler, you might be surprised or not to know that Dave liked this one a bit more than I did. I didn't really enjoy this, but I did get to the end and look forward to the fact that you may use this week's episode to posit your theory that this is a long forgotten prequel to Weapons. So I'm happy to hear that from you at some point. Where you tell me how this behaviour broke Amy Madigan's character and she turned into Aunt Gladys. I hope you've made those notes, Tyler. I hope you have.
Oh, I did not, but that's actually kind of amazing.
That's right where you're going. So the opening, I wrote down the opening quote of this, which I've got to just say it in its entirety because to me, I thought this was going to be the kind of the whole, film boiled down to its essence. For a woman to explore and express the fullness of her sexuality, her emotional and intellectual capacities would entail who knows what risks and who knows what truly revolutionary alteration of the social conditions that demean and constrain her. Or she may go on trying to fit herself into the order of the world and thereby consign herself forever to the bondage of some stereotype of normal femininity, a perversion, if you will. So I read that. I thought, this could be an interesting look at that battle between, just being allowed a kind of fullness of life and freedoms that generally like straight white men are allowed, and then looking at all of these societal factors that are there to add chains and basically restrain women and tie them down and give them more responsibilities and give them the uneven share of weights that then tip the scales down towards them while the men get catapulted higher into the air, smashing through lots of space where there would be plentiful glass ceilings if women were trying to do the same. I thought that would be what I would get, and I guess there is some of that being explored, but it didn't work for me. I think like it made Tilda Swinton's character just too just she felt too constantly uneasy and too constantly nervy, and she's trying to allow herself certain freedoms and moments of pleasure, but the rest of her life is so on edge and lived by the rules and sort of the laws of everything else around her. Now, I get that is part of what is being explored, but I didn't buy into her fully enjoying those fleeting moments of pleasure that she was having. I didn't buy into her character as having the confidence to let herself go and fully indulge in however she wanted to indulge. So for me, her character was still always right in the halfway point, which is, I guess, where a lot of women may find themselves. But I did hope that this film was going to show us someone navigating between the two extremes, or maybe even breaking through from one side to the other in a way that it would feel like a literal smashing of glass to get to that other side. That's what I thought I was going to get from that quote being put there at the start, and almost that statement that seems designed to be smashed up and burnt, but it isn't. We just see it played out in an unsatisfying and uncomfortable way. So that's a shame. I think Swinton is good in this role. I liked Madigan in the role of her sister. I thought Amy Madigan was good. I agree with Dave that Clancy Brown was a smoke show when he came on. I was like, whoa, Clancy would get it. And this, I I may welcome the chance to travel back and body swap to be Tilda Swinton for a while if Clancy was in that office waiting for me. So that was fun. I look, I know it's an unimportant thing, but I found it interesting that Tyler picked a film that had two actresses that starred alongside Tom Selleck in his non Three Men and a Baby, Three Men and a Little Lady films of the late 80s and early 90s. There's Paulina Porskova, who was with him in Her Alibi, and Layla Robbins starred alongside him in An Innocent Man, neither of which I've seen, but they, they have reputations, and that may or may not be for good reason. And I may end up watching him one day. I don't know, but now I've seen his two co-stars in this. Marcia Cross is here in a small role, which is interesting. And yeah, the character played by Frances Fisher is like, I think maybe she might be the character that I kind of wanted Swinton's main character to lean more towards, to spend more time with, because she's very just free and uncaring. That may not necessarily be entirely good, considering there is a child in the household who might be influenced in different ways by her behavior. But I liked, I at least liked her presence for showing someone who was not going to care really about what others thought and how things should be. So that was good. Like, don't get me wrong, T. This wasn't this wasn't a slog for me, but I was ultimately disappointed because of wondering what else it would do for the main character that then to me didn't really do. And as I say, that experience may be familiar to a lot of women who are like caught right there in the middle. I just assumed from that statement front and center that this was going to show a more interesting delineation between those two ends.
Yeah, to the surprise of nobody, I really like this movie. I mean, just give me a 90s erotic art house drama that looks and feels like a Chanel No. 5 perfume commercial, naked Tilda Swinton, Clancy Brown shaving some pussy with his mouth. Yeah, Clancy Brown was awesome in this. You get dream sequences, some pretension, a lipstick scene that resembles the business card scene in American Psycho. This is definitely some proto-female American Psycho shit going on in this movie, for sure. I thought this was great. Whether you not whether or not you feel the psychoanalyst approach to feminism works here, I personally think it does. But even if you don't, you got to respect the very female approach it took here. I mean, it also tackles things like insecurity and confidence and trauma, sexist power, just among many, many other things. I love this script. I think it's really well written. It's beautifully shot. Everything felt so geometrically composed. I loved the pretentious art house visuals here. Like that is my jam. I love those visuals. I just throw in some like weird art house visuals and I'm just happy. It is a very cold film too, which may turn some people off, but it really worked for me. The performances and the style and that tone just fit together so well. Tilda Swinton is fantastic here. This actually might be my favorite role from Tilda Swinton. She's so good in this. I loved her in this movie. I mean, she's absolutely just fucking gorgeous as well, just stunning. I really liked Marsha Cross as the mother too. I mean, she's was always my favorite Desperate Housewife, and she's really good here. Not a huge role, but she's decent. Um, Rest of the cast, super solid. No issues with any of this cast. I really like this cast. But yeah, I really like this one a lot. I bought both this and Who Killed Teddy Bear instantly after they ended. Like credits were rolling, I was buying this shit on eBay. So yeah, I really liked this movie a lot. Both, I mean, it's hard to pick a favorite this week. I know I said Teddy Bear was my favorite, but man, this is such a close second if I picked that one. I don't know. But yeah, great stuff. I really like this one a lot.
Well, now you need to know because it's time to pick.
I'm gonna go with Who Killed Teddy Bear to be different because usually I pick my own pick. So yeah, I'm gonna go with Who Killed Teddy Bear, even though I fucking love female perversions as well.
Kevin.
I feel a bit bad that there will be no sweep this week, but I was completely won over by the end of A New Leaf. I didn't think that was going to be the case when I started it, and by the end I was like, I will defend this film to everyone, and I love it.
I mean, I will also defend A New Leaf to everyone, but for me, it is Who Killed Teddy Bear. It's just A New Leaf is excellent, and I hope someday someone finds the missing 80 minutes because I am so curious. Because like, there's murders in it. There's a whole subplot about people learning about their misogyny and fixing it. Like, I'm so curious. Anyway, but for me, it's Who Killed Teddy Bear. But the truth is, I don't think you can go wrong with any of these if they sound like they appeal to you. This was a pretty good week for us, which is pretty rare. And we've had a couple lately, which makes me dread next week.
Yeah.
Next week, we're getting back into the swing of October. And since Craig's not here, suck it. There's only going to be 3 this week. I am going to jump on the African-American horror train with T that T rode last week. And I'm going to make us watch The Blackening.
Yeah.
What you got first, T?
Next week, because I'm me, we're watching We Are the Flesh from 2016 because who doesn't love weird art house Mexican incestual erotica?
Kevin.
Exactly.
While I remember before T does his early bit, it's still, time is stretched on, and I've still not done a YouTube video for a while. But you know what, Dave? I'm worried about jinxing it now because our subscribers have steadily crept up every week.
Nice.
We're now at about 251. I'm thinking
put your
as soon as I
beautiful
do a
face
video,
out there.
that'll plummet.
Those dulcet tones are drawing him in. I knew you could do it.
Anyway, I am going with the obviously twisted and awful dark art of ventriloquism and making us watch 1978's Magic.
Actually, you know what? Damn, that's gonna be a good week too. We are like full top of the world, Ma.
Wow.
Yeah, it's gonna come crashing down so bad. Like it means we're gonna have like 4 good weeks in a row, which means there's gonna be just nothing but pain all November. I already see it. I'm using my telepathic powers to see the future. November will be nothing but tears and misery.
Big will come back, he'll be like, guys, in the Dropbox I've put a 60mm print of Even Goebbels loved a prostitute one week. That's what it is.
Hey T.
Yes.
You want to get into business?
I would love to. We're on Instagram, Raiders_of_the_podcast. We're on Facebook, where I sometimes remember to post stuff on Wednesdays. We have a YouTube channel where you can like, subscribe, and comment and watch Kevin's awesome videos. He's still more consistent than I am with my Wednesday posts. We have a Discord, we have a Blue Sky, and you can always email us at raidersthepodcast@gmail.com.
As always, thanks for listening. Thanks for joining me, guys. I will talk to you next week.
See ya.
that?